Morning, everybody. How are we doing?
Tired. 100%.
No, just leave it where it's at. He's going to need the volume. I'm just trying to.
We have been going through the book of Revelation. We're going to be in Revelation chapter 6 this morning.
It's in both of those chords, I think. Oh, I think I know.
We began, as I talked about last week, we started in chapter 1, which was the things John saw. We went into 2 and 3, the things which are the churches. We're in Revelation, Asia Minor there. And we are moved into the tribulation part, the first 2 chapters, chapters 4 and 5, what was taking place in heaven. Chapter 6 begins what is taking place on earth during this tribulation period. I like to reiterate this all the time. Has everybody got a copy of the outline? Everybody got one? Okay. I like to reiterate that while we are talking about prophecy, futuristic stuff, whatever, we need to look at this as how it can affect us now. How we can use what the Bible teaches now in our everyday life, and how we live here, how our church uses this, how our family uses this, how we use this. And so when we go through this, let's not just look at it as prophecy, but look at it as learning lessons for us. We're going to look at a little bit more in detail of that here in just a few minutes. But this morning, everything got tore up back there again. It ain't working again. I'm gonna sit you down up here somewhere.
Hey, listen, I ain't messing with that thing.
Go ahead and try it. Try it.
Hey, click him.
No?
Click it for me.
Woo!
This morning we're gonna talk about the 4 horsemen. I got a picture there because I can't do it.
Click it.
Not gonna talk about those 4 horsemen. Those are my favorites, though, by the way. I like Ric Flair. Yeah, I got Chad up here getting ready to throw a figure 4 on me here. When we talk about the 4, listen, all through Hollywood and everything, we hear stories of the 4 horsemen. We've heard that. Y'all remember this movie here, Pale Rider? We talked about the Pale Rider.
Let me see if I can get it clicking.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'll keep you going if I get it going.
That's right.
Let me check.
I think it come unplugged or something over there when it dropped. That's the computer. So we can't fix that yet. We got to get another computer or something. Yeah, we need a quiet computer.
There it is.
You working now?
Okay. We got shows, the 4 Horsemen, which I've never seen this show. They said it was kind of a popular show there for a little while. I don't know a whole lot about that one. There's been movies, the 4 Horsemen, talking about a war. And people use this terminology all the time as secular stuff. And we talk about that when we talk about David and Goliath, different things like that, how people, the world likes to take the things from the Bible and secularize it. And they try to turn this stuff around and make it so that it's not really important. Yeah. That it's just common everyday things. Satan uses that trick quite often. My pastor that was up in Tennessee, real interesting, he studied Satanism and the occult for over 30 years. He would travel all over the country for a while there and would give seminars in churches on Satanism and occultism. And one of the biggest things I've always remembered when he did these was how subtle a lot of this stuff has creeped into our society. How many members I know y'all are, most everybody here should be old enough to remember Space Ghost. Y'all remember the cartoon Space Ghost? Y'all remember him?
It's a weird.
He showed us the cartoon. I used to like Space Ghost. I watched that when I was a kid. And he showed the upper view of the inside of the ship when Space Ghost would be at the controls and all this stuff. And there's a upside down pentagram in the middle of the floor with a goat head in the middle. If you don't know, that are Satanism symbols, Satanistic symbols. And he went through a lot of different things, and that's how it becomes non-important to us anymore. It's just normal stuff now. We don't even think about it. We have really, even with our hymns that we sing in church and the songs we sing in church, we sing them so much, and we've sung them so long, that it's just normal now. They don't mean much. I like that the other week we done What a Friend We Have in Jesus, and just read the words instead of trying to sing it. And just look at what the words, and man, we do that with our Bible. We've read John 3:16 so many times, it don't even stir us anymore. And I think that's what we need to get back to is letting this stuff stir us and let this stuff awaken something within us. And so we're going to look at these, and these are not just some Hollywood characters. This is important. And I want us to look at this. We're in Revelation chapter 6, verses 1 through 8. I'm going to have Brother Eddie do my reading for me. We'll read the first 8 verses here.
And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, and it as it were a noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and the power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill, one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts saying, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard a voice of the 4th beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And the power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beast of the earth.
It was not Clint Eastwood sitting on a horse.
Right.
Y'all know I am real big. I love animals. I'm not one of those APECA people, but I love animals. My 2 favorite animals in the world are wolves and horses. I love horses. I don't think there's anything more relaxing than to get on a horse and ride up in the mountains somewhere and just admire the things that God has given us and just relax and see that. And I put 2 of my favorite horses up here, the Buckskin and Tobiana paint horse. I love, that's my 2 favorites. I found that picture just to put it up there. But I love horses, and horses mean something to us. When we look at horses, we think of the westerns, or we think of horseback riding. Nowadays, that's a big thing. You go to Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge or Cherokee or some of these places, you see the signs for horseback riding. Everybody likes to horseback ride. They're very domesticated in the fact that they're pets now, pretty much. I know I've got talked to some people that lived up in Albemarle area that go to Wyoming once a year. And there's certain places out there, certain times of the year you can go and you can wrangle wild horses. And whatever you catch, you can keep. And they go every year and they get 2 wild horses and they bring them back and they put them on their property and they don't try to tame them or anything. They're just trying to let them stay free as much as they possibly can. They've got about 50 acres fenced in and those horses just run up there. Beautiful, beautiful horses. I put this one up here. Tammy will probably shoot me for this. Our horses, we've got to take care of my boss's horses for years, and I love them horses. They're babies. They're back in the coat. We know the famous horses. Silver. You remember Silver? You remember Trigger? These horses, everybody knows them by name. Boy, everybody knows who Silver and Trigger. Horses were pop, but they were,
Marty, you remember Trigger?
no.
Yeah, that's Marty.
That's a horse that was stuffed.
Actually, one of my favorite horses, and I didn't put his picture up there, was Comanche, was his name. He was a Morgan horse who is the only survivor on the American side of Custer's last stand. He was a Morgan horse that was saved. He had 20 arrows in him. They saved him just for the purpose that he was the only one that they got to pull out of there. They worked to save him. He was a hero, and they had parades for him and all this stuff. He's stuffed now too up in Kansas at the National Museum up there. But horses today mean something that horses did in the Bible. In the Bible, horses were known as battle instruments. They didn't really farm with horses like we think of working. They had oxen, they used oxen, they used things that horses were for one purpose, and that was for battle. And the Bible speaks of horses many, many times, and I brought a couple of those up. This was one of my favorite verses I used to keep. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord. Over Proverbs. Good verse. But the Bible praised horses for their strength. It praised them for their courage. And I put one of these verses up, and I want us to look. In Job chapter 39, he said, "Hast thou given the horse strength? Hast thou closed his neck with thunder? Canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? The glory of his nostrils is terrible. He paused in the valley and rejoiceth in his strength. He goeth on to meet the armed men. He mocketh at fear, and he is not affrighted. Neither turneth he back from the sword. The quiver rattleth against him, the glittering spear and the shield. He swallowed the ground with fierceness and rage. Neither believeth he that it is the sound of the trumpet. He saith among the trumpets, Ha, ha." That's what you've never seen that in the Bible. You just laughed at it. Ha, ha. And he smelleth the battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shoutings. Horses were fierce in the Bible. If you've ever seen video of horses when they fight each other, they are vicious, vicious animals when they are agitated or angry. I've been on the back of one time it was, and that was not a fun thing to do. I literally had to jump off the back before I got my head took off. I've seen horses attack people. They bite, they'll haul. They are not scared when they're trained. They will go into battle and take bullets and take arrows. Like I said, Comanche had 20 arrows in him and was still fighting. Horses are known to be vicious. And in the Bible, that's what they were known as. Vicious, battle-ready animals. So when John said there was a horseman coming, the people of his day didn't think, well, here comes somebody riding on a horse. That's not what they pictured. They pictured something extreme coming. They pictured something major. This had to be a major event. When kings would ride into town, they would be surrounded by horsemen. Horses meant something in the Bible. And so it wasn't just, oh well, these guys riding horses coming in here. It was important. And he wanted to get your attention when he read these. And so he said, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The first seal was opened, which was the white horse. Verse 2 says, "And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." Now, most theologians believe this is the Antichrist. There's a lot of different views as to who is the rider of the white horse. Some people believe it's Jesus. In fact, a lot of that I was reading on, a lot of people were saying that because over in Revelation 19, Jesus comes back on a white horse, it's probably Jesus at the first of it too. But I want to show you kind of the why that can't be. Revelation 19, we'll compare the two. Revelation 19 and 6. In 19, he has a sword. You remember when Jesus comes back, it says he defeated him with a sword. In chapter 6, he has a bow. In 19, he's wearing a diadem. Now remember we talked about that last week. There's two crowns in the Bible, the diadem and the Stephanos. Two different crowns. One is the royalty crown. The other is the victor's crown. In verse 6, he's wearing a victor's crown. In chapter 19 signals the end of judgment. Chapter 6 signals the beginning of judgment. I believe that this person is the Antichrist. When this person rises to power, they will sign a treaty with Jerusalem. Now, the Jewish people have been under tremendous abuse, persecution in the past 80 years, 70 years, 60 years. Again, and I'm trying to be careful because I know there's a lot of different beliefs, a lot of different thinkings, a lot of different lines that go down. I believe the tribulation is for the children of Israel, not for the church. I believe it's for the Jewish people, for the children of Israel, not just the Jews. The Jews were considered Judah and Benjamin, but all the children of Israel. I believe this is God's last judgment on His chosen people, not His elect. I don't believe the elect's even here. I believe it's for His chosen people that He is doing this. And so He makes a big deal out of doing this treaty for Jerusalem for peace. He's finally going to say, okay, you're going to be at peace for just a minute. You say, well, how do you know that? Well, if we look over the second horse in just a second, we'll see why. I believe this is the same person listed in Daniel 9:26. That person that's going to come and that's going to set up his rule on earth, this Antichrist. Later on, we're going to get into more of who he is. Right now, I just want us to kind of realize who we're talking about and what's going on. The second seal. Second seal is the red horse. I don't think I've ever seen a red horse. I guess they call them rusty horses. Something like that. I've never seen it. But red has always signified blood. It's always signified battle. When we read this one, when he opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." Like the way Eddie was doing that. Y'all notice? Anybody else notice that? I listen to the way people talk. I guess coming from narrative type person and being in dramas and stuff of that nature, that's the way I like to read people. Being in restaurant management, you learn to read people and the kind of drill. And I was listening to Eddie. He said, "Come and see." That part, I like that. That was really good. That was cool. The second seal. He said, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red. Power was given to him that sat thereon to what? Take peace from the earth. So the Antichrist has set up peace. Now comes the red horse, and he has come to take peace. Now, Preacher Eric has talked many times about how we have to study and we have to look at things like when it says something about he taxed the whole world. I remember he's talked about that. He says he's taxed the whole world. That doesn't mean he taxed over here and over in South America, the natives there, in that area. You have to be careful what you read because world don't always mean the entire earth. It can mean different places. But here it doesn't say world, it says the earth. No time in the history of man has there ever been complete peace on earth since the fall of man. Now, there have been peace in certain areas, and some people said that there was I forget what that word's called, where they say Rome lived in the world, but they were still battling what was going on. They were just protected because they were so big, but they were still battling, so there really wasn't peace there. Nowhere is there peace. In fact, let me read this. I like this now. I kind of put it down. Someone has estimated that in 5,560 years of recorded history, there have been more than 14,550 conflicts that's been recorded. That is more than 2.5 per year since man began to count. 2.5 years, or 2.5 per year. Approximately 130 conflicts have been recorded just since, well, from 1898 to the mid-1980s, approximately 130 conflicts have been recorded. 130. But now listen to this one. Since World War II, more than 70 conflicts have taken place in the world. 70 since 1940. Wars are going rapid. There is fighting. I mean, I don't want to tell y'all nothing. Y'all see the news. There is a lot of stuff going on. And the Bible says there'll be wars and rumors of wars in the end times. It says that. Never has it been so vicious, and recorded-wise anyway. Worldwide, just chaos. We're not living in peace here. We're not a peaceful nation. Man, watch the news yesterday. How many shootings have we had in the last couple of days? Some dude or somebody walks into 3 people's houses and shoots out 8 people. Execution style, family members. Then turned around yesterday in Georgia and done the same thing to some people. Killed people in 2 houses. Somebody went to a school prom and shot some students up last night. We're not in a peaceful nation either. There is so much war and conflict going on, and this ain't nothing compared to what's going on. Anybody that says it's getting better is blind, bereaved, and done fell over and hit their head or something. Because not only is it getting worse, but we're making it worse because of social media and the news and all this stuff going on. Do you really think we could have won World War I or World War II if we'd had Facebook back then? I mean, really? Oh man, you talking about people being up in arms because they done shot this one and killed that one and what in the world? That's why we couldn't win the Vietnam. Everybody was so much against because the news was all up in the middle of everything. Yes.
They had another one in Arizona yesterday.
There's just so much going on, and it's just a precursor of what's coming. The third seal, the black horse, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hands. Black, most times in the Bible, always represented death and starvation. We've heard of the Black Death, and we've heard of the Black Plagues, and we've heard of these things all around the world. If you want to get somebody to do something for you, and Eric, I don't need no comments up there, you just be quiet for a minute. You start dealing with food. If you want to get somebody's attention, you start dealing with food. You can make people do some crazy things for food. And we have turned food into an economic warfare in America. We're fighting amongst about food. We are controlling, trying to control who gets what food. I watched a thing, it's probably been 10 years ago. It was a documentary. It was in a foreign country. And it was showing one of the little villages where the people were dying of starvation. And he was talking about how bad it was there, and how terrible it was there, and how awful it was. I mean, people are just starving to death all over this world, not just in other countries, here in America too. People are starving to death. And the guy said, "Well, while I'm talking," he said, "I want to keep my camera on for just a second to show you how these people are suffering." But as he turned around, here's this huge metropolis right behind him. And it's those people that's keeping those people starving. It's us people that's keeping our people starving. And if you've ever been in any kind of history and studied any history or looked at history, anytime there's war, there's almost always famine right after. And so you think of these little patches of places that we've got right now across this world that are people starving, it's going to be like that worldwide. And as in Daniel's day, there's going to be a few people that's going to control who's got what food. And trust me, if I don't like you and I want to kill you, but you got the food that I need, I'm going to leave you alone. And the Antichrist will have such power because he'll be in control of our main resource, food. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and a measure of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. We know that this talks about one day's wages will only buy one day's food. There ain't going to be no going to the steakhouse and grabbing a steak and a baked potato and salad. Now, when you go on over a little ways, and it starts talking about the mark of the beast and having to have the mark to buy and sell, a lot of people say that's symbolism, but I'm fixing to really shake y'all's world when we get to that part. Because there is some major, major proof that this is about to happen. You better hold on. In fact, it's already happening, whether you know it or not. The technology already exists and is in use. But he says he will control all of our food resources. Won't be able to run down to McDonald's and grab a burger. What you eat that day will cost your day's wages. The fourth seal opened, the pale horse. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the four beasts say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. His name that sat on him was Death. Now, the first three, there was one rider. Remember that? One rider. On this one, there's two. That sat on him was Death, and hell followed after him. Power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth, even with the black plagues and all the different plagues that we've had. Never in the history of man has it ever killed 25% of the population of the earth. But this says it will. And when I read this, I kept looking at some of the things on here. And it kept going back to Ezekiel. I think I put that up there. For thus saith Ezekiel 14:21, for thus saith the Lord God, how much more when I send my four sword judgments upon Jerusalem, the sword and the famine and the noisome beast. And I always thought that meant really loud beast. That's not what that means. Bad beast. Terrible. And the pestilence to cut off from it man and beast. And I just told you, I just let you know, if you didn't know, how much I love it. And it irritates me to no end to see somebody abuse an animal. I will fight you if I see you abuse an animal. And then he says the beasts are going to be doing this. The beasts are going to be involved in these pestilences and these things that take place. And the place I went and looked at was, have you heard of the Zika virus? How about Ebola? All this came from animals. They say AIDS began from animals, from monkeys. You know how many diseases a rat carries? As many as 35 diseases one rat can carry. Animals are already beginning to infect mankind with diseases and pestilences. And this says it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. We haven't seen nothing new. AIDS, Ebola, Zika virus, all that's just chicken pox. Now I got everybody feeling all gloomy and let's see. Let me conclude this lesson with this. This will take just a minute. And being I really wasn't going to be that long this morning, because I wanted to cut it kind of short because I knew it was having a preacher come in and all that good stuff. But there is some responses that need to be made to these 4 horsemen. The first one is the response of praise. Now, if you believe like I do that the church is gone during all this, man, that's something to praise about.
Amen.
I'm glad I ain't going to be here to see all this mess take place. I'm glad I ain't going to have to deal with the pestilence, especially the fan, not being able to eat, man, listen. You know, man, that make me praise nothing else does. I'm like, come on, man, I need my cheeseburgers and my pizza and all that good stuff. Listen, to know that God has saved us from that is enough to praise Him.
Yeah.
That's enough to praise Him. But that's not what I want to talk about this morning. The response of passion. You say, well, if I'm a Christian and I'm born again, bought by the blood of Jesus, and if I believe like you do and the rapture is going to take place before the tribulation starts and I'm not going to be here, why do I need to even worry about it? Who cares? I'm going to be up there happy, praising God and going on about my business and having me a time. What about your family? What about your neighbors, your co-workers, your kids, your spouses, your parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, best friends? Don't you think we need to be a little bit worried about this for their sake? I've got friends and I've got family members who I wouldn't want to see go through none of this. And if I do go through it as a Christian, I know God gives me grace to get through it.
That's right.
Because I told, me and Preacher Eric's talked about this many times. I think when we get to heaven, all of us will go, man, I was totally wrong about that one. We all going to be wrong here and there on some of this stuff. That's just, there's no way around it. So if I make it, if I'm here through it, God's going to give me the grace to get through it. If I'm not here, I need to worry about my brothers and sisters who are going to be here. And my family and my friends and my co-workers. That should give me an urgency to want to tell them about Jesus. That should give me an urgency to know that if I'm reading this right, man, this is getting close. Every bit of this is just falling right into place. That's why I believe the way I believe, because every bit of it is just falling right into place, just like a puzzle. And it's that important that we tell our friends and our loved ones. And we talked about bringing, inviting them into the revival and stuff. Man, you need to be telling them about it before you get them here. We talked about, I preached a sermon, Eric's preached a sermon, we've all talked about revival, what revival is, how much we need it, how much we want it. But revival's for us. The lost folk getting saved is a result of the church having revival. And if we get some revival and we get this passion back inside of us again, there'll be lost folk coming in. I told y'all before, and I'll share this, it's this revival day, when we were in Tennessee at Hunter First Baptist, we had that 3-day revival that ended up going 2.5 weeks. I had drove from Johnson City, Tennessee to Marion, Virginia, which is 2 hours away. Stopped in a bookstore up there, and the lady at the counter in front of me was talking about how her church was going to be driving to Elizabethton, Tennessee to go to a revival that was going on out there that they had heard about. Of course, y'all know me. I asked, well, what church are you going to? She said, Hunter, right, that's our church. You know what I'm saying? God will, God's trying me to if I'm standing. That's the truth. If we get on fire in here, they're going to hear about it everywhere. We've already been on fire about it. I remember, man, it's all over Facebook, it's all over signs everywhere, we've hung out flyers everywhere. Everybody knows about this revival's taking place and it ain't even started yet. Or should I say, the services haven't even started yet. I believe revival's already getting started. But we got to want it. And when we get that revival, when we get that passion back into us, then the lost are going to be drawn to it. Right now, they're repelled by it. When you got a bunch of Christians walking around out here like they've been sucking green persimmons and their baby goldfish done died, the world's looking at you going, man, I don't want no part of that. I got enough problems of my own, Lord. I don't want to look like that all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If I come to Brother Joe and I say, Brother Joe, they just opened up a new steakhouse up here in Gastonia. It's all right. Pretty good. It's okay. Well, all that. It's okay. Steak's all right. Maybe take a little cold. It's all right. He might go. He might not. If I come, man, Joe, dude, you need to check out that new steakhouse, boy. That steakhouse is something, boy. That juiciest steak I ever had in my life. Potato was good. Had tons of butter and cheese and bacon good. And salad, man, that salad was good. Joe gonna next time he thinks about steak, that's where he gonna go. Joe gonna go to that steakhouse because he knows about it. And if we had that kind of passion about what Jesus has done for us and what Jesus is doing in our lives, and we were out here telling folks what Jesus has done, we got really, we're all excited about it. People would go, man, I want to go down there and see what's all about that church. I want to go down there and check that out. Something happening down there. We had, at that little revival we had up there, I'll never forget, there was 2 or 3 Pentecostal churches that was coming. Every night, they were bringing their youth and they were bringing their adult. The Pentecostals were coming. That church, Christian churches are real big. I don't see many of those down here. That's what they're called, the Christian churches. A lot of them was coming. We had the Presbyterian folk was coming. There was a lot of Methodist churches. And everybody was just coming together. Because we had a passion for Jesus, not a passion for what goes on in here and what this is. Man, we had a passion for Jesus. And if we would do that, if we'd get that passion, the lost folk would be drawn in.
Amen.
Why do we need to worry about what is going to take place in the end times? Because we got lost loved ones and lost friends and lost families that need to be saved. But the response of personal evaluation. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to ask and close with it. If I'm right, and I believe that the rapture takes place before the tribulation, and that means that Jesus could come at any second. If I believe that, and that's true, if that's true, and before we start our service at 11 o'clock, Jesus steps out on the clouds and calls us. Would you be ready? I ain't talking about your neighbors and your friends right now, or your families, or people sitting in the pew beside them. I'm talking about you. If Jesus came back right now, would you be ready? I've said from the beginning of this study that we've been doing, and I'll end at the same time with it. If we would live every day just like Jesus was coming back in 5 minutes, we'd never go wrong. And I believe you can. I believe you can. Is your heart ready? You want revival? Get your heart ready. Preacher preached on that Wednesday night. It's not about as much Trinity Baptist churches. It's about you and you and you and you getting your own heart right. Get yourself ready. You want revival? Get you ready.
Yeah.
Get your heart right. Say, Lord, cleanse me. Make me ready for revival. And then stir me up. That's what we need. A personal evaluation. Get our personal evaluation right, then that passion will come. After that passion comes, we'll have some praise. That's what the 4 horsemen are going to do.
want to be ready regardless. I want my family to be ready regardless. And I want to thank God for what He's already done.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.
It's about time as people stand at the doors, so I'm going to go ahead and close out. So y'all go back, preacher. I'm going to check that for Steve. I don't know if that's preacher or not. Brother Eddie, you can accept the people.
Lord, again, we thank you again for this morning, Lord. We thank you for the lesson that we just learned.
Yes.
Lord, we just pray that each and every one of us will look into our own heart. Lord,
Yes.
we truly have revival within our own heart.
Yes.
Lord, go with us throughout the rest of this day.
Yep.
And deal with those that are lost. And Lord, we pray that you will help each and every one of us to be a testimony to you in this lost and dying world.
Yep.
We ask it all in the most precious name of Jesus.